in just a second. Interestingly enough, we're going to be seeing a new addition to the map pool here for the Intel Extreme Masters. It's going to be, what, Mr. Day 9?
Atlantis Spaceship. It's actually one of the GSL maps that some of you may have seen. If you haven't, don't worry, we'll be doing a little review of it at the start, but it's a large map, very gas-intensive map.
Yes.
And again, do you think that this is more comfortable for DarKFoRce's position?
Potentially, as we shall jump into the game here in just a second. And up to the top northern position, we do have ATN's DarKFoRce going to be spawning here as our blue Zerg.
And in the left spot, from Team Evil Geniuses having a lot of time, or a lot of trouble putting results on the map as of late. Hopefully he can do it today. It's going to be Evil Geniuses PuMa. Now, I think the most important feature of Atlantis Spaceship is the fact that the mini-map looks like a teddy bear.
Yes, it does indeed. It's
reaching its arms out to hug you.
Yeah, it's got those little paw things going on. It's cute.
There's the paw on the right and the paw on the left, and there's the eyes and the nose, and we have these little ears formed by the mineral patches. But I think most notably as a StarCraft 2 map, you'll see that there's this double gas expansion with an extra rich geyser. It can be easily taken down at the low ground. And there we also see that PuMa just kind of going for a standard wall off. Given all these expansions that are kind of littering around the map, it's very, very easy to go into a long-term macro game.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that because I actually had a little bit of a hand in applying Atlantis Spaceship to the map pool, because I actually don't like Tal'Darim Altar anymore, and I was very, very adamant about that hopefully not being in the map pool. But the way I see Atlantis Spaceship is a lot of Koreans, because of the GSL, have a lot of experience on it.
Yes.
And as such, I was assuming that a good amount of Koreans would end up, you know, maybe choosing the map, maybe not vetoing it as much as foreigners would, because we've only really seen it in, like, the IPL, for example. However, PuMa is someone who doesn't have that much recent GSL experience. So that mechanism and that factor doesn't really play into it as much as it would do for, say, example, the MVPs, the NSTs, the people that are really kind of performing a lot there.
But it looks like PuMa actually does have a little bit of a trick up his sleeve. I mean, despite that inexperience, he's going for the command center first, followed by Gas Geyser, followed by Barracks. This is a very nice way to be able to get up a kind of fast factory with Hellion.
Yeah. Very, very much so. That's going to help him out in terms of going for that aggression. And, you know, again, Atlantis Spaceship is a big, wide open map with quite a few attack paths. So going for that kind of Hellion play, allowing yourself to have that mobility in the early game, maybe poke and prod a little bit here and there, just, it works really well to the map, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially on a map this huge, you have to have some way to control space that does well. And DarKFoRce, interestingly, also having another answer of his own. I'm going to be getting Zergling's speed up really early because I need some way to control space, because there's no way I'm going to be able to creep to this very far away third base.
Yeah, interestingly enough, he's leaving guys on gas. Oh no, there we go, pulling him off. Sorry, maybe I was a little bit over-eager with that. So just pull those guys off, and for now we have the factory on the way for PuMa. So there's going to be a little bit of a Hellion versus Speedling war to begin with. So very, very standard here at this point.
Gosh, PuMa's able to get this up so fast, this play. This is such an annoying thing to deal with. Now, granted, you're getting it so fast, you're kind of stunting your ability to do much else than Hellion Harass. If you see Hellions really early, for instance, you know that a very fast cloaked Banshee is difficult for a Terran player to be doing in that spot. So this can be a nice read for DarKFoRce in that position.
No, that's entirely true, though. Just the lone Marine out right now for PuMa, just going to be able to fend away that Zergling. Now, considering the positioning of the Marine and what DarKFoRce has actually scouted, do you think that he would assume that there is an expansion up there, or is that?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's at 5 minutes and 30 seconds, and you see one single Marine. That's very, very uncommon. And look at this, an ultra-fast layer from DarKFoRce. This, I actually think, is a super unusual and potentially very brilliant play by DarKFoRce. He's actually just going to be going straight up to Spire Tech.
I think Yeah, actually, no, you're right. four gas guys is down. I was alluding to this Overlord in the back, maybe some kind of really strange Nidus play, but because there is quite a bit of surface area.
Oh, that actually would work very nicely.
Yeah.
Just going for a huge Roach Nidus play, because if your opponent is going for this fast Hellion, the only reasonable follow-up he could be doing is a third command center.
So for now, it does have the command center on the way, as you like pointed out, and the Hellions are going to try and poke in here. One Queen to be able to fend that off. Second Queen going to poke, finish just as those guys arrive. But for now, the Hellions do have to fall back. But other than that, he's getting Marauders and Stim on the way here already. So looks like
no, gosh, DarKFoRce, you do see the layers up. Let's see what tech path he does decide to go for the Spire. So. Yeah. I mean, this is not actually a very comfortable position to be in as PuMa.
No, I mean, there's so much area on this map, and granted the mobility of the Mutalisks, I mean, in a similar way in which we were talking about the Hellions giving him some great map presence. You know, these Mutalisks are giving phenomenal presence here. So there's so much room that he can dive in and out of, and there's so much architecture to be able to exploit with that.
And now DarKFoRce, with the amount of gas that he has, he's going to be in just extremely happy condition. I mean, this third command center is actually probably going to have to be lifted and repositioned to a more comfortable spot. We have all these Hellions out to deal with a player who's going to be going Ling Baneling, who's going to be going Ling Infestor, and nothing like that is actually going down. So I will say I'm a little bit shocked to see the number of Zerglings out of DarKFoRce that we are seeing, but...
Stole my thought once again. It's very similar to game number 1 in terms of the amount of Zerglings he's building here. Like, at a 45 drone mark, and it's not really going to be able to do him too much, I don't think. I don't see where he's going to punish with it.
Well, it looks like the big opportunity for him is going to have to be right now. He has just now finished a Spire. There we see 3 Mutals coming down, but it looks like he decided to build another expansion in mid. Wow, and there's, the Hellions just found exactly what they wanted to. These huge pack of Zerglings. Some big blast landed on him.
Now, from seeing what PuMa has seen, does he then say, hey, why do you have so many Zerglings not really doing anything at the moment? Or does he continue just... Well, it looks like he's just
he just attacks. I mean, that's the big thing. You're going to be able to do a lot of damage. The only thing you really got to worry about is that really nice surround. The Mutals are going to come in. Most of those Hellions, wow, every single Hellion is going to get demolished. And this is just going every way possible to DarKFoRce. And to answer your question, Killaris, once you've seen those Mutalisks, now you suddenly go, no, and you start to go into all mad defense mode.
Yep, too true. He's got some missile turrets on the way here, as well as some extra barracks being added on to be able to ramp up that marine production very quickly. Adding on even more gas guys is at this natural right now, but he hasn't. It's gonna be really hard for him to establish a third, I feel here. I don't see how he's gonna be able to too easily.
Yeah, now we see that the Zerg player is even following up quite brilliantly by going pretty much abandoning of the Mutalisk. He's going to be going for those melee upgrades, could easily go straight for a hive in this position. Yeah. Right now the game is in DarKFoRce's control, but I mean, look at PuMa going into huge macro mode, adding on tons of barracks. So many. We'll have 1-1 finish soon. Couple of weird 1-1 timing pushes you can do, but DarKFoRce will almost certainly make PuMa feel pinned.
Yeah, with some cool hooks on the way, those Banelings going to be able to connect pretty well, especially with the nice creep spread he's got going as well. And if he's able to just extend that a little bit further, as well as maybe even spread it around the edges of this fourth, then he can be able to defend this pretty easily. But at the same time, though, PuMa just going to poke around here and there and try and establish himself his third. And again, it's kind of down the attack paths. He doesn't want to go for the base that's been blocked. Does he even know that it's being blocked is a question. Oh, he does now.
Yeah, I mean, I like this choice for PuMa. It's an expansion that will pretty much dictate that you have to push up. It's very hard to push down and away from this entrance. So DarKFoRce taking the center of his own. I like this play quite a bit from PuMa. Actually, does PuMa know about the center expansion? Well, he's going to be very happy when he sees that's there, because it essentially means an extremely close attack path for PuMa.
Yeah, and again, considering the architecture of it, there's like so much area you have to cover around it. It's very rare you see a base exposed 360 degrees. Like, there's no like real architecture to be able to say, you know, like high ground architecture, for example, around it. So that can always be a bit difficult.
DarKFoRce now continuing to get pretty good set of expansions, but not really any use out of them yet. There's been no attempt to take gas. His drone count has stayed at 68. He hasn't really developed much of his infrastructure, just getting some Mutalisks and then halting that in favor of Ling Baneling. So DarKFoRce, again, has to do some sort of big play with gas at some point, but I mean, he has everything there except the drones and the gas geysers.
That is true. That is very, very true indeed. It's always nice to get those gas geysers going as quickly as possible as a Zerg. Right now, the Mutalisks just keep continuing to shark around, but realistically, they've not done too much in terms of direct damage. They've only slightly pinned PuMa back, but he's now attempting to go for some harassment. A drop up to the north here, killing off maybe 1 or 2 Overlords. The Zerglings are on the way to deal with it.
I honestly think that this is one of the tough decisions in the mid-game. When you're up against a Mutalisking player, you can drop in places to help pull his Zerglings into the wrong position. Or, pull Mutalisks into the wrong position. But DarKFoRce, I think, had a very clear decision to kill that off with Mutalisk, to defend with his Ling Baneling. But instead, we see this medevac is still alive, and DarKFoRce is about to take some huge damage.
Oh, maybe so indeed, as the drop unloads once again here. The Zerglings, though, and Baneling's going to flood into the front here. Nice Marine splits at the back, and nice Marine positionings, and then Baneling's not going to be able to connect with them just yet. There's not that many Banelings left over here. Marines continuing to split back, and he will be able to clean up the rest of them, but there's still plenty of reinforcements on the way.
Oh, PuMa, with his trademark incredible control, is going to get plenty of free Mutalisks, and meanwhile on the main base, that drop is dealing all the damage that it needs to help PuMa get a huge lead after this exchange is said and done. And it looks like DarKFoRce, in a couple of moments, thought, oh yeah, I'm going to be completely safe, and just went ahead and resent his drones back to mine. But look at PuMa's classic excellent micro.
And positioning throughout those mineral lines, so annoying for Zerglings. You see it time and time again in this matchup. Really needs to send like a little pack of Zerglings around the back to be able to deal with that. But now the Marines are still alive, and look at this PuMa going for another push at the 4th.
Gosh, I mean, as painful as it is to lose one of these expansions, DarKFoRce still hasn't begun mining gas out of any of his extra expansions. He's just sticking to 4 gas, Kalaris.
Yeah, that can always be a little bit brutal for Amy, as right now PuMa has been able to traverse himself forward around 20 or 30 supplies. So for DarKFoRce, that's getting a little bit scary. You never really want to be in this position. And he's going to go for the push once again. He needs to break this, apparently, as he does get a little bit of a nice round on 1 or 2 of these siege tanks. But the Baneling's not really connecting with as many Marines as they would like to.
There's a lack of comfort with DarKFoRce's play right now. He was looking just great in the early and mid game of that last match. But here it looks like, oh, all the Zerglings streaming in will be almost enough to help defray this push, but not quite. And with all those Marines darting forward, Marines versus Mutalisks without anything to reinforce is going to be a one-sided battle, to say the least. DarKFoRce losing the center expansion. PuMa comfortably established his own center expo. And with PuMa just rallying, building Thors, everything he needs to, DarKFoRce is going to have a hard time holding on for much longer.
Yeah, and PuMa behind this. There's a 4th base on the way, and it's actually in a position where he can just, there you go, though, guys.
There's GG.
Wowzers. PuMa playing very, very well in this best of 3. DarKFoRce not really able to attain the pace that he needed to.